Meghan Markle isn't black. She's whiter than me. Not only is she whiter than me, she's whiter than the current Prime Minister of the UK. She's whiter than the Mayor of London. She's not even black. Why is nobody talking about this? The fact she's pulling the race card is absolutely and utterly insulting to every dark-skinned person who has ever genuinely suffered from racism, ever. If you're sitting there and you're dark-skinned and you suffer from racism, why are you allowing this light-skinned white woman to come along and use racism as defense for the fact that she's just not a likable person? And nobody likes seeing the Prince of England cuck. Because that's all that's happened. No one likes seeing the Prince of England be a and we know it's her fault. It's nothing to do with your skin color. We just don't like you. The only people who are sticking up for her as well are these race-baiting, random liberal black people. Why? She's using the race card and she doesn't even deserve it. No one's racist against her. She was famous. She was fine. She was in suits or whatever, running around doing whatever haram stuff she was doing. There's no racial implication here. Nobody likes her at all.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a couple of interesting segments from Andrew Tate on the topic of race in the context of the Meghan Markle, Prince Harry situation in the UK and their new Netflix docu-series where they just cry victim, right, and kind of tell their side of the story in regards to what happened between them and the royal family and why they're not really welcome into the UK. Or put it this way, Meghan is not welcome into the UK. Her husband, Harry, decides that he's gonna simp for her rather than, be loyal to his family. But regardless, Andrew Tate is speaking on this topic. And when I first heard Andrew Tate talk about this, I realized that I actually have never heard Andrew Tate talk about the subject of race, which is extremely surprising because this guy is of mixed race. His dad is black. And usually these mixed race guys, these light-skinned guys, they seem to be the biggest race crusaders because they're always trying to prove their blackness, right? They're always trying to prove how black they are. And that's how you get people like Colin Kaepernick, these type of people, right? Who, he was raised by white people, but for whatever reason, once he started kneeling for the national anthem, he became soul brother number one. Don't know how that happened, but I'm just saying I am pleasantly surprised at the fact that Andrew Tate does not really talk about his race. He doesn't talk about the fact that he's half black. And I think that actually has constituted to part of his success. I'm also pleasantly surprised with his views on race and his race topic. And before I react to this video right here that he's doing with Piers Morgan, I actually want to play another interview that he did with another British news channel about this topic of race. And then we'll get into this interview right here. So without further ado, go ahead and roll the clip.
Like Meghan has really utilized that.
Well, there are certain buzzwords. There are certain words you can hide behind in modern society which people are not allowed to challenge. And it allows you to have ideas inside of a vacuum where you can develop these narratives that are never directly contested. And racism's one of them. You're completely right. People can just cry racist and you're not allowed to challenge the idea. And I stand up and say, I do not think that the problems with the public perception of Meghan have anything to do with her skin color whatsoever, especially the fact that she isn't even particularly dark. I find it very strange that a lot of the people who are standing up for her, I've seen many liberals, black liberals from all around the world who are standing up for her saying the race card, the race card. Why would you allow somebody to use the race card when they're not genuinely suffering from it? Doesn't that disrespect all the people who actually suffer from genuine racism?
Well, I think it does.
So do I.
Because there are so many contradictions in that Netflix series, because Meghan actually says the only time she ever experienced racism was someone in LA calling her mum, who actually does have much darker skin than her, the N-word. But actually, Meghan said she had experienced no racism herself, yet she enters the royal family, and all of a sudden it helps her victim narrative to suggest that she's been a victim of racism. And actually, if you saw her wedding, I mean, the British public completely embraced her.
Well, if the British public had a problem with race, I don't understand how we have a prime minister who's darker skinned than her, a mayor of London who's darker skinned than her. It doesn't even make sense on any level. I would state that England is one of the least racist nations on the planet. And this is one of the things that's kind of detrimental. The people who are obsessed with race and obsessed with racism, constantly calling it out, they in many ways speak it into existence, because most of us, like you said, like yourself, like myself, we don't see color. We treat people with respect, and if somebody's a likable person, they're a likable person, and if they're a dislikable person, they're a dislikable person, and their color has very little to do with it. It's just kind of ironic that nobody else wants to stand up and point out the glaringly obvious, that nobody looks at her and thinks, wow, look how dark-skinned you are. So it's kind of incredible that this is the angle she's going down, and nobody else seems to want to mention it, and I don't understand why.
Well, I think you do know why, Mr. Tate. Is like you said at the beginning of that, is that certain language is not allowed in society, or you throw certain labels on people in order to stop conversation, to silence people. And the reason why you want to silence people is because that is a form of power and control. When you accuse somebody of being a racist, a transphobe, a bigot, homophobe, whatever, right? All those labels are simply designed to silence criticism. It doesn't matter if, you throw out those terms for situations that aren't actually bigotry or anything like that, because it was never about being bigots, right? Or being racist or homophobic or whatever. The woke revolutionaries are totally fine with racism, okay? They're totally fine with racism towards whites, okay? It's never about that. It's not about fighting racism. It's about power and control. And Meghan Markle and black liberals crying, boo-hoo, woe is me, you're racist if you criticize me, even though it has nothing to do with race. That is a way, of deflecting criticism, okay? Never having anybody challenge your ideas or your worldview. It is a form of power and control. That's exactly what it's about. So, again, I want to go ahead and play this interview right here, which is basically the same topic, but this time he's talking to Piers Morgan, just to kind of add to this.
What about the issue of race? And I mentioned that in the context of the Harry and Meghan ongoing debate, their war with the royal family, war against the monarchy, their specific constant referencing to the fact that they believe they were driven out of here because of racism in Britain. What do you make of that debate?
That's absolute fallacy.
And you're from a mixed race
correct
background yourself.
Correct. I'm from a mixed race background myself, and while we're discussing the leaders of the UK, although I do think they're doing a terrible job, it's kind of hard for Meghan to say that the UK is a racist country when the leader of the UK is darker skinned than her and the mayor of London is darker skinned than her. And I am a person who's probably darker skinned than her, and I've never experienced any kind of bigotry against myself besides the fact I'm a straight male.
Facts. Right, fact. He said, I experienced more bigotry as a straight male than he has as a black person, right? Or half black person. I just find that to be hilarious, right? I just find that to be a very, very, very fascinating quote from Andrew Tate. But, I think he has a point, because this is the same type of stuff that I be saying here about the United States of America. The woke revolutionaries claim that the United States is such a racist country. And when they mean by racist, they mean racism against non-whites. And so racist against non-whites. However, we have democratically elected leaders that are not white. And we have a ton of them. Okay, we had a president of the United States that was half black that became the president. Okay, so, technically, one drop rule, right? This is what we do here. We had a black man be president, okay, or at least a half black man, half African, you want to call him, right? He became president. And I mean, his middle name was Hussein, right? I'm just saying, the country can't be that bigoted, okay? It can't be that bigoted and racist to elect somebody like Barack Obama to be president. It just doesn't make sense. The country overall is not a racist country. Do you have racist individuals? Absolutely. But again, the ironic part about this is that the woke revolutionaries complain so much about systemic racism. However, they have nothing to say about systemic racism that's overtly against, whites and Asians, like affirmative action. And they're also actively trying to make the country systemically racist against whites through the woke ideology of anti-racism. Which again, this is what I'm talking about in terms of why do these people do this? Well, they want power and control, right? They want power and control, and they want deflection of all criticism. That's why any criticism of them is racist. And in Meghan Markle's case, she basically tries to accuse the British public of being racist as a way to deflect criticism for her behavior or actions that may make people dislike her, that have nothing to do with her skin color at all, but just has to do with who she is as a person, which is a clout chaser, right? Who happened to get lucky, right? And to marry into the royal family. She essentially won the lottery. Again, people are entitled to have their opinions. Just because they have their opinions doesn't mean that they're racist. Now, does race have to do with how she's treated in the royal family? I gotta be honest with you guys. I have no idea about that. But, hey, when it comes to royal bloodlines and stuff like that, I mean, hey, people tend to be picky about who they want to just join their family when you're talking about royalty, okay? I mean, so I'm not saying that they have welcomed her with open arms, but, she hasn't really, backed up these claims of racism, these accusations of racism with any real evidence.
I'll get bigotry for that before I'll get bigotry for my skin color. I think it's just a cop-out, and her not wanting to be perspicacious and self-reflective enough to understand that she has attacked an age-old institution, and there are people who are very patriotic about that institution, and by attacking it and bringing a degree of distaste to it, there's going to be people who don't like her. And if you're a dislikable person, you can't just instantly stand up and say it's because of my skin color. It might be because of your actions and some of the things you've said.
I mean, I think there's probably no doubt she's had racism on social media because it's...
Who hasn't, Piers?
It's assessed.
You probably have.
Well, as I said just now, I've had death threats on social media and no one seemed to care very much.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably inarguable. My issue with what they've both been doing is if you're going to make allegations against an institution like the royal family and the monarchy, you've got to actually provide some evidence. You can't just spray gun this thing out there and say, well, somebody was racist.
Yeah, and airing dirty laundry is never going to be respected by the populace, and being a tattletale is never going to be respected by the populace. And I think the problem with the modern world we're living in is a lot of age-old traditions are being destroyed in real time. It doesn't matter what the tradition is. Most of them are being eroded. And something like the British royal family, which has been around for a very long time, is an age-old tradition. One of the things holding the UK together, one of the last things we have, to sit and detriment it and to sit and insult it and to give away secrets from inside of it and try and paint a negative image of it is going to upset a lot of people, and you have to be prepared for that backlash.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, again, I don't really care for the royal family. We fought a whole war to get away from those people, right? So I don't really care for them, but I do respect the institution for what it is. Okay, I do respect the history of it, even though the woke revolutionaries claim it's so evil. They're not any more evil than any other country or leader or kingdom that tried to conquer their enemies in the world. But anyways, yeah, I don't think that Meghan is right to air the dirty laundry and to openly smear them and then expect that there's not going to be backlash from people who in that country do respect that institution and do kind of love the institution. Yeah, there are going to be people that are going to backlash against you. And that backlash does not necessarily come from a place of, racism as much as it comes from a place of the fact that you're, again, trying to openly smear the family and to, air their dirty laundry from within. Again, people are not going to like that. Even if Meghan is experiencing what she believes to be racism, because we really don't know. I mean, I said this before. Black people tend to do this, right? If anybody that is non-black, okay, has some type of microaggression against a black person, some black people do tend to, the first thing they think about is, well, did they do that because I'm black, right? Did they treat me that way because I'm black? It can't be because of any other reason, like they was having a bad day or, they just, got a divorce or their girlfriend broke up with them or they had a bad day at work or they're tired of something. No, right? It can't be any of those things. It has to be because of black, right? So, there's a tendency for people who have this victimhood mindset to, see any little microaggression or interaction that makes them uncomfortable as a form of racism. It must be because of their skin color, and that could very well be what Meghan Markle is experiencing. She may not have been welcomed the way she thought that she should be welcomed, and she automatically said, well, it's because I am, half black or whatever. But again, it's funny because if I first looked at her, I wouldn't be able to tell for certain that she's black. I might have played the Latina card or something like that, okay, before I played the black card. But who knows?
You can't say I've done things that upset people, but it's nothing to do with what I've done. It's purely because of my skin color. Also, it's kind of ironic that she's doing that because she's not particularly dark-skinned. It's kind of funny to watch her sit and say,
yeah,
race.
I think the truth is, I don't know what. Look, you can say that. I can't.
And that's the problem, right? That's the problem. This is why race is still so prevalent in our society and the issue of racism. Piers Morgan, who's white, literally is admitting, hey, I can't say those things, right? I can't say those things, but you can because, you're half white. It's ridiculous. People should be able to say how they feel regardless of their skin color. That's how it should be.
The reality of it is, I just don't know what the specifics of the racism she says she's had because we've not seen any evidence.
The universe is a funny place, Piers. If you're looking for something, you're going to find it, right? When I got canceled, when they attacked me unfairly, lied about me across the entire mainstream media, deleted me from social media so I couldn't defend myself, and lied about me repeatedly, I could have stood up and said, it's because I'm brown. I didn't do that.
Facts. He could have did that, right? He could have did that, and maybe you should have did that, Tate. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I'm at the point where I think that you gotta fight dirty, right? You gotta fight fire with fire, because it's effective. It's effective to say, well, you're canceling me because I'm black, right? Or you canceling me because, you know, you're sexist or whatever. It's effective. So, I mean, I respect the fact that Tate didn't do that, because he could have did that, right? That would have been an easy card for him to pull, where they're canceling a black man, right? They don't want a black man to speak his truth, but he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He actually focused on what it was, the censorship. It was censorship because he was putting a lot of truths out there, particularly in regards to men in society, that the feminist powers that be didn't like. Okay, and they made him public enemy number one because they thought that he was radicalizing young boys to actually be real men, right? They don't want men to be real men. They want men to be simps, right? And feminist types, and to worship at the feminist altar. That's what they want. And Andrew Tate was a direct threat to that. So they had to, you know, censor him on the internet. And it's hilarious because it totally didn't work. His Rumble channel is doing well, and he's still getting these interviews on these major networks like this. So it's like, did the dude really actually get canceled? I mean, he's back on Twitter as well too, right? It's just kind of funny how that works. I don't understand why they even tried to cancel the guy in the first place. I really don't, because what he was saying was not that bad. It was just something that the mainstream liberal media straight up played, took a lot of things he was saying out of context and made it worse than what it was. But I will say he has been able to kind of change his language in recent interviews and the way he says things, keeping the same message while not being as controversial about it. And that shows that he's very smart and self-aware, and has the ability to adapt to, you know, criticism while actually changing who he is and what his message is.
I sat and said, okay, there's people who misunderstand my message. My message is a positive one. People misunderstand me. Let me self-reflect and understand that, yes, perhaps this said a long time ago was said in the wrong way. Perhaps this was misunderstood. Perhaps people don't understand this. I could have just copped out and could have just been refusing to self-reflect on any level and said, it's because I'm brown, that's why they did it. But that's not the mature way to be as an adult.
What did you think of...
Facts, bro. Why did this man get canceled, bro? What did this man say in this interview that would warrant any type of cancellation on the internet? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.